So the Erhu is a very old instrument. It was created first by, I believe, the Mongolians. I started learning it about 6 years ago when I was 11. My neighbor was having one of her lessons, and I had already started taking the violin at this point. And so she talked to my mom and asked, would you be interested in learning it? And I thought, why not? So that leads me to today. Almost every Erhu piece has a story behind it. When I first started playing, there were certain pieces that were quite simple. It's like, it's a winter day, but there's still a man who has to fish to feed his family. So try to think of that kind of emotion. And so when I play, I never open my eyes. I have to put myself into a very distant land, far away from everything, and I just push my entire body into it. Every small inflection, turn, bend of the bow, it gets shown in the sound. There's so much inflection needed that if you don't inflect, if you don't add your own personal taste to it, it's incorrect. I would love to be able to perform my Erhu, all the time. Just be able to go around and play my music and have people go, wow, I've never seen that before. That is where I would like to take that, to be able to keep performing.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad you enjoyed that. My name is Muhan Zhang. The piece I just played for you was called 赛马 equals racing horse by Huang Haihuai. Now, the Erhu. It is an instrument with tons of history, spans from over 1,000 years ago, and I'm going to spare you that really long story. No. Today, we are talking about the Erhu as a contemporary classical instrument. But in order for us to figure that out, we have to first figure out, what does contemporary mean? What is our modern-day society all about? Our society is obsessed, completely obsessed, with discovering and obtaining the next new thing. Facebook, news feeds, iPhones, all this technology, it's constantly making us crave the next thing. So, for example, what is it? Free rice. Before I go on, does anybody here remember what free rice is? Can you please raise your hand so I can just take a count vaguely? Free rice? Okay, cool. For those of you who didn't raise your hand, Free Rice was a website that started up in 2007. Basically, the concept was you played vocabulary games. If you got a word correct, then Free Rice would be able to donate. It started out as 1 grain of rice, but then eventually went to 10 grains of rice. It was able to fund this because of the advertisements that were placed on the site that you were supposed to look at as you played. So, in 2007, Free Rice, just started. It was able to garner about 12 billion grains of rice, which actually isn't that much if you think about how many grains goes into one bowl. But then, in 2008, it got massive media coverage. New York Times, CNN, everyone was all about Free Rice. And suddenly, Free Rice in the year 2008 was able to gain 43 billion grains of rice, which is easily more than 3 times 2007's amount. In 2009, however, media hype's gone. No one really knows what it is, as per example. And, it went back down to 16 billion grains of rice. And with 2010's monthly totals in, it seems like we're on track to go for 12 billion grains of rice yet again. So, what does this mean? How is it that the Erhu has been able to stay alive? It's gotten 1,000 years. Clearly, our society isn't one of a very long attention span. Well, the Erhu even though the instrument itself has stayed fairly similar since its conception, the music it has been used in has changed dramatically. So first of all, does anybody here know Coldplay? Yes. Okay, cool. Okay, good. I'm not that old. Does anybody know the song Clocks? Yes, it was very famous. Cool, good. All right. Has anybody ever considered covering it with an Erhu? No, but somebody did. 12 girls band and all a 12 instrument using only ancient Chinese instruments did. They covered it. Now, has anybody here considered making an aquatic acrobatic show that take place at the Bellagio? Maybe? No? Well, actually, fairly close to home, Cirque du Soleil did. In their aquatic show, O, they used the erhu as one of their main instruments in their soundtrack. So, what should we make of this? It's really cool that the erhu has been able to stay alive, stay cool, it's kind of retro, stay hip. But I think it's is it time to move on? Is the erhu done with its 1,000-year run? It's fairly impressive. Should we leave it to the history books? Is it time to move on to the next, cool erhu innovation? I don't think so. I think when we burn our roots, we are cutting ourselves short of something really, really big. Society shouldn't always be about, clearing the bush, bringing in the new, constantly reinventing our, making the 90s and the 80s each have a very distinct style. We shouldn't always be doing that. Rather, we should be taking the best ideas of our ancestors. They had brains too, surprisingly. Taking their best ideas, fusing it with our newfound innovation, Look at TED, for example. I'm talking on a global stage right now. That's really impressive to me. But at its heart, what I'm doing right now is practicing one of the oldest ideas alive, holding a discussion. That's never going to change, no matter what methods it does, no matter how it gets done. TED has simply transferred it to the 21st century in a really effective way. And so with that, I would like to present with you one of my most concrete examples of what happens when we innovate the past. I have some accompanimists. I don't know where they are. Their microphones and pianos are set up. I wonder if they're going to come on stage anytime soon. But, so there are my friends, Ponang Lin and Kimberly Huang. Ponang Lin is a music engineer from the Berklee School of Music, please. And Kimberly Huang is a rising sophomore at the Westwood High School. So together with them, we'll be playing a piece composed by Poe. He's pro. Composed by Poe, and it uses sounds from different times, different places, different worlds entirely. But nonetheless, I do hope you enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. And with that, please enjoy Tempest on an Endless River.